What's going on, Packers fans? Welcome into an all-new episode of the Pack-A-Day podcast. I am your semi-host, Andy Herman. In just a moment, Mike Wahle is going to take over and give us a pretty incredible Packers-Bengals preview. I know a lot of you have been asking for film and kind of a deeper dive into some of the other teams. Mike does it better than anyone, so he is going to give you that full Packers-Bengals preview that you're looking for and everything that you need to know about this Bengals team going into the game. Before we get there, I want to shout out a brand new Pack-A-Day podcast YouTube member, Steve Franks. Also want to shout out Richard Morales for becoming a all-new Pack-A-Day podcast All-Pro member. Really appreciate both you guys. Also want to give a shout out to our two sponsors, Luigi's Frozen Pizzas and Alchemy Wealth Management. I'll start with Luigi's today. You guys know I cannot get enough Luigi's Frozen Pizza. Need it morning, afternoon, and night. And yes, I do have Luigi's Pizza every single week, and it is my favorite go-to frozen pizza, as you guys know by now. I still have a trouble deciding almost every single time if I want to go with their ultra thin crust, their Big Daddy, the garlic dippers, the fresh dough. They're all incredible. And that's the only problem with Luigi's Pizza is that all of their pizzas are amazing. And every time I choose an ultra thin crust pepperoni, I always feel like a fresh dough sausage and pepperoni or a Supreme or one of the garlic dippers or the Big Daddy. And multiple times what I'll end up doing is convincing family members to be like, hey, you guys want pizza too? You want garlic dippers too? So then we can make multiples and I can get a little bit of everything. That's usually the plan that works out the best. But if you haven't tried it yet, make sure to check it out over at luigispizza.com. And of course, over on social media at Luigi's Pizza. Find it in your grocer's freezer aisle and you will not be disappointed. Also, Alchemy Wealth Management. Get your retirement set up. What are you waiting for? Like, your financials need to be in order. I know that this is something that you have to, check off your to-do list. I understand it. I get it. But this makes it super simple. You don't have to call up some random place that you don't know, that you're going to have to pay for some consultation and they're going to feed you a bunch of stuff you don't. This is simple. Alchemy Wealth Management, retirewithryan.net. Go and sign up for a free consultation. That's simple, right? You get that free consultation. Ryan's going to hook you up. He's going to set you up with exactly what you need to do to get your retirement on track, or even more on track if it already is. He's awesome to work with. Cannot recommend it enough. Check it out, retirewithryan.net. Again, retirewithryan.net, exclusively for Pack-A-Day podcast YouTube members and audio podcast listeners. So check that out as soon as you get a chance. Now, without any further ado, let's get right into that Packers-Bengals breakdown with the one and only Mike Wahle.
I'm Mike Wahle. Welcome to Block Party. Thanks for watching. If you're enjoying, hit the subscribe button, rate and review us. Check us out on our Process to Perform channel, and check us out with Andy Herman on his Pack-A-Day podcast. We'll be there at least Mondays and Thursdays. As far as I know, listen, the Packers got the Bengals this weekend. This is a totally different game without Joe Burrow. The Bengals offense to start with, I mean, they're 17 points per game. It's like 29th in the league. I think they pass the ball more than anybody in the National Football League as a percentage. They're last in rushing. I think they're averaging 57 yards a game. So you're looking at a team who's just, look, it starts up front. We'll really harp on it on the tape. You just don't like what they've been doing for the last 4 or 5 years. You don't like what they're doing right now up front. It just looks really problematic for any quarterback who goes in there, whether it's Jake Brandon, whether it's Joe Flacco. I mean, you really need a special guy like Joe Burrow to make it work there. The one caveat is Jamar Chase is really, really good. We'll show it on the tape. 6 for 110 and 2 touchdowns in the loss last week to the Lions, even though they had 3. Here's an interesting stat that I hadn't seen before. 5% of the time these guys throw the football, they have an interception. 5% of their passes are picks. They're averaging, I think they had 3 last week. So this is one of those teams where you want to get better game. This is a get better game for the Green Bay Packers defense. Now, flipping it to the Bengals defense, and we'll show both of them on the tape. These guys are 31st in points per game. They're 30th in yards per game. I think they're middle of the road. I mean, I watch them and you think, man, they're actually pretty decent in the box. Now they're missing their Shamar Stewart. He's out with an ankle. Their rookie who was having a pretty good start to the season. They have a first-round draft pick from a couple of years ago, Miles Murphy. He's not even starting on this football team. Hendrickson's the big name. I do like what they do as far as box. What you're going to see is 2 things, really. Watch how personnel dictates what they do on defense and how it affects particularly their pass rush. And then when these guys get in space, man, they do not tackle well. And that combination is absolutely deadly. So the Packers can kind of dictate the terms of confrontation by formation and personnel. And we love playing in space, and these guys really don't like tackling in space. So I think this is going to be a fun one for you guys. Hope you enjoy. We'll do a little wrap up at the end.
All right, so when you talk about the Cincinnati Bengals, for me, Joe Burrow's not playing. He's one of the better quarterbacks in the league, in my opinion. But it's really about this offensive line that is just, quite frankly, they've struggled for years and years now. They've got Mims, a first-round draft pick at right tackle, Orlando Brown Jr. at left tackle. He obviously won, I think he won the Super Bowl with the Chiefs, or at least went to the Super Bowl. Alex Karras at center. This is just not a very well-run operation up front. They give up pressures. Their tackles get beat all the time. Obviously, Joe Burrow is one of those guys, and I think they run the offense this way where, they're okay giving up sacks on third down. They kind of look at that as, the risk-reward profile is a little bit different, but those numbers add up. I'm just telling you from an offensive lineman standpoint, like you get, it's the people in the paper and the stats all pointing to the fact that you guys are giving up a ton of sacks every year. It's a self-perpetuating problem. So early in the game, and this is what you want to see from Aiden Hutchinson, this is what you want to see from Micah Parsons or Rashawn Gary, is let's just go ahead. If they're going to go gun and third down, let's get on the first third down of the game. Let's just beat the right tackle, get a sack, make them punt out of it. And you just look at it from the perspective of the end zone copy. He's going to go from this angle, and he's just going to turn and get to what we call vertical feet, or his shoulders turned to the sideline in like less than 2 kicks. And anytime you do that, and we've talked about it on the show before, it's just a recipe for disaster. And it's always wild to me, knowing all that we know now and all the film review, all the information that we have, all the kind of the technical profiles that we can build on all these players. It's always interesting to me that we can still end up like he looks right now early in the game against a player like Aiden Hutchinson. But this is what happens, and certainly when you don't trust your technique, you start freestyling out there, make some bad decisions, you get beat on things that you shouldn't be doing in the first place. So to combat that, the Bengals got to come back and got a 1st and 10. They're going to go under center. Now Hutchinson, unfortunately, they're going to run a fake toss keeper. Hutchinson's going to end up knocking him on his ass again. But they're in a lot of these tight formations. They love to run crossing routes. They've got levels here, essentially, which turns out to be old high school boot right flood. And they don't end up making the play here, but they're trying to protect their quarterback. And this is going to be part of the game plan. You can't just throw it short every single play because, Packers will sit on it. And Jamar Chase, as good as he is, 6 catches, 110 yards, 2 touchdowns last week, special player. He needs time. Only a fool would play, like man free, pressed up against him, for the entirety of the game. Like nobody's going to do that. So because of that, you got to give the guy time. In order to give the guy time, these linemen up front have to block. So there's opportunities abound for the Packers. This, I think, for me, is what's kind of exciting when you watch these games, especially with Jake Browning. Joe Flacco might be coming in, and I'll show you the throw that I think made that trade. But you look at what happens with these teams, and I don't care how good you are. You go motion across here with your best player, and you expect him to kind of run a wheel. We're going to go out here, maybe run like a corner, and then we got this follow. So you're really just trying to put this player in conflict. And if he goes out with Chase, which he should, then you throw the wheel. But because Chase just stops, man, like there's no conflict here. He's all the way up here, and now we are in a position where we've got an alley on the screenplay, right? But because he doesn't run him out, he just kind of looks back and checks things out because it's a screen. No dice. Offensive line, you're supposed to get out to the alley? Absolutely. Are you supposed to be helped by your best player running something there? Absolutely, as well. All right, we got a 2x2. I showed this play just because the end zone copy, you guys are going to love this. So the right tackle took his split to the extreme. Got to respect the distance here. You want to talk about opening a lane without having to do anything. So he's just going to block out. We're going to go down. We're going to pull up. We're going to block back and pull the tackle around here. So why is that important and why is that relevant? Because the tackle is at a bad angle to get around to Jack Campbell, who's having a hell of a year. he's not a natural puller. You'll see that Jack Campbell just hits him right under the chin here on the pull, stops him in the tracks. The other problem here is we go back to these plays, and Packers do this. Everybody does this now because you don't want to align your running back in the same spot every time because it starts showing, these guys are playing that he's going to come across, right? So they want to put him same side, but just look at the time the timing, I should say, of this play. Now he's got to go from inside step, downhill, and now he basically has to bounce this because of the 3-tech on that side and the way that Orlando Brown's going to hit this. Like, Orlando Brown's not hitting it to hurt, right, to move bodies out of the way. You'd love to see him pop through that little seam there, but it's not that obvious because he's right behind him. That angle's difficult. We got a 1st and 10 play. This was an interesting one to me. It's going to end up in a pick. So you're going to go, generally, if you're going to do some sort of like 7-step drop here, you're going to go like 7 or 8 man protection, keep that tight end there. They go 7-step drop, but this is like a, kind of that, what I just call a BS play action pass. They do come over here and let the running back help out with left tackle. And he has time, but man, I mean, you got a young quarterback. Look, Zach's a really good play caller, and I'm not questioning him. Like, you're building this playbook kind of from Joe Burrow's perspective, and then you got Jake Browning in there, or maybe you got Joe Flacco this week in there, and it's like, it's tough, really, really tough. 2-man route from your feet in the end zone is tough. So they give up a pick there. There's one of them, and you can see here they go motion. They're trying to show like maybe it's a split flow. And here's the thing and this is why I wanted to show the end zone copy. Like, this is wild to me. So Hutchinson actually jumps down to a 5-tech, right? Because they're going to spike this. They're going to bring the guy off the edge because it's, they're obviously near the end zone, which makes you wonder, in another scenario, you either got 89 or 86 blocking Hutchinson. Like, in other words, if he doesn't come down into that 5-tech, one of those 2 tight ends is blocking him on this play. Like, are you crazy? And that's wild to me. And this is, sometimes we talk about offensive line and sacks and everything, but you look at this and you go, this is not sound. You watch 86 here, he gets beat. He's out for the check down. It's like, and maybe that's the right thing to do after 3 seconds. That's his rule. But you just see 89's thinking like, I mean, thank God Mims came back here. Like, he's definitely beat. That's strong by Mims, actually. But pick nonetheless. Not a call that I would necessarily fall in love with. We got trips right. Could go 4 to the side there with that running back. We end up, I think, running the football here. And I wanted to show this from the sideline copy. What a great job as a play caller of putting him in a bind, right? Because right now, they can just run a little bubble screen and have him hook up. Or they could run triple slants, or they could run the bubble with 2 slants. They could do a bunch of stuff, right? But they can put that guy in conflict. And so what they're really running against is they got a tight end in, and they're running against a 6-man box with 6 blockers, a runner, and a quarterback, right? Because we're going to call that overhang player just somebody who can't fill right now. So you just see how this ends up going. They end up inside releasing the tight end, have Orlando Brown Jr. go out on Hutchinson, and they're running on the safety here. That's a fantastic play call and play design. What you want to see there is how many more times can they do that, without needing an adjustment from Kelvin Shepard on the Lions side, but just see how good the angles are here because Jack Campbell really has to sit and hold in the backside. All right, we got a 2nd and 8 play here. And they're going to run it. I think they're going to run a TE out of a 2-eye for a sack. And this is one of those things when you talk about good offensive lines or maybe just things you don't see very often. Like, you really don't see TEs out of a 2-eye have a lot of success in the National Football League. Now, they can, but you got to really do a poor job of coming back to the penetrator. And so, what we're talking about here is, as we set back, are we going to come and attack this guy as he loops back out because we're going to go up and then back under? Or are we just going to kind of soft accept that penetrator, okay? So we just watched 63. He's going to probably step down, step back out, and that guy is wide, but Orlando Brown Jr. is not really the kind of player that's going to snap back on this. It's kind of sloppy, yeah? And this is the stuff, this is just the stuff for me where it's like, know your personnel, and maybe Joe Burrow's just getting rid of this ball so fast that, there's no worries, and it's just unfortunate that, you run an offense for one guy and then another guy ends up having to run it because of injury. But man, it's tough. It's tough to watch sometimes. All right, 3rd and 15, talked about it. A lot of these third downs are like 3rd and 10 plus. Another turnover by Browning. For me, this is probably the throw that got Joe Flacco traded. So you look up top, and they're just running cover. They're just running middle field closed. Looks like they're running cover 3 to that side, and this isn't even close to being thrown right. Now, whether or not you want to talk about the receiver need to be on the red line or he's too close to the sideline, that's nowhere near. I just don't know if he's got the arm for it. Who knows? But that ball's way, way, way off. Obviously trying to make a big play with Jamar Chase, who's more than capable of getting open and making that play if it's contested. But sometimes when you're a young guy and you're struggling, you're going to try to find that guy no matter what. And he did have 6 for 110 and 2 touchdowns, but geez, oh Pete. So they run the play action, and this is kind of the stuff you have to adapt for, right? I don't think Joe Flacco's going to be. We really don't know if Flacco or Browning's going to start this game. But if it is Browning, this is something that he's proven he can do. He can throw on the run, throws across his body here, ends up making a good play. And they're running this gun look. They pop the center out. There's a lot of complications here. If you're a penetrating defense, anytime you've got some guys you don't feel great about as far as their ability to block, but I think there's opportunities there. We've got split backs in the backfield. We're going to probably call that one of the tight ends. So just 11 personnel. And I showed this play, they caught the slant, but if you're looking at it from Micah Parsons, Rashawn Gary, and Egbari, and you look at 75 here, just kind of, I think he's good for 1 or 2 of those a game where you're just going to get a free shot. I think you're just going to get a free shot. It's just part of the deal. Kind of got that old ghost motion here on the wheel just to open this thing up a little bit. And he throws another ball, and it's hard. Now, obviously, they bring the wheel around because they think Chase is going to, as he should occupy this player. But this player starts drifting back. We got eyes on the quarterback. As we come across here. This guy bounces back off. He essentially throws into triple coverage. And sometimes you just got to take the small win, give the ball to Chase at the line of scrimmage, see what he does. But again, might be a new quarterback this week.
Hey friends, week 5 is officially in the books, which means it's time to start getting our sleeper picks in for week 6. And what better place to start than Thursday Night Football, Philly, New York. Maybe not the most epic game in the world, but this is what makes Sleeper so amazing. It always makes the games just a little bit more interesting. And right now, Sleeper's offering double promos. You know the one already, 100% match up to $100 by utilizing code PACKADAY. Again, 100% match up to $100 by utilizing that code PACKADAY. So get after that one. But maybe you're new to this whole thing. You can get a free $20 entry right now. No deposit required. It doesn't get any better than that. A free $20 entry with no deposit required. Terms and conditions apply. Check Sleeper for details. Operational in over 25 states already. But here's what I'm going with for Thursday Night Football. And I just wanted to show you, it doesn't need to be anything extravagant. I'm going 2 things. Cam Scattaboo, touchdown. Saquon Barkley, touchdown. Both of them, anytime touchdowns, more than half a touchdown, are winners here. So Cam Scattaboo, Saquon Barkley, I say they both score in this particular game. And if so, as you can see here, 3.24 times the amount that I entered. So a great opportunity to win. It makes watching the game so much more fun. Check it out over on Sleeper. You're not going to want to miss it. And again, make sure to utilize that code PACKADAY to get a 100% match up to $100 and take advantage of that free $20 play with no deposit required whatsoever. What are you waiting for? Go get after it right now.
3rd and 14. Trips down here. Look at this chip from Gesicki. Gesicki's the guy who was with the Miami. He's a volleyball player that turned tight end and not the most physical guy in the world. Look at that chip. So good. Okay, this is the last play I'll show you on offense. Obviously, these guys are struggling. They did come back late with a bunch of points in the fourth quarter against the Lions last week. The game was over. But you show this to just remind yourself that, like, Ja'Marr Chase is really good, man. Like, he's just got next level speed. Look at that. For a guy to get open when you're down 2 or 3 touchdowns, you're dropping 3. You're dropping 8, maybe with 7 with a spy. And he gets this open, and just runs away from that guy. So he's the question mark, right? Like when you start talking about this offense, it's like you got this group that you want to exploit, and then you got the what's the one thing we can't do? Can't let Ja'Marr Chase have one. If you do that, it's going to be smooth sailing. All right, let's check these guys out. So obviously a hard thing to do is go in and play the Lions with all the offensive weapons that they have. But one thing you notice early is the Lions found out if you get into 12 personnel, and they did this all over the first quarter, the Bengals aren't a very good pass rush team. Obviously, they have Trey Hendrickson, and he's going to win. Miles Murphy's first-round pick from 2023 really hasn't shown up. Shamir Stewart, the guy that was holding out this year, the first-round pick, started off great. He got an ankle injury in week 2. Not showing you much now. He's been out for the last couple of weeks. Don't think he's going to expect to play versus the Packers. So when you watch this team, whether they're playing cover 2 or playing a middle field closed, the play action is open for business all over the field when they get into these 12 personnel packages. And obviously you look at, 12 personnel, you got 2 tight ends in the game. Can we do that? Well, the Packers can absolutely do that. And the key here is obviously, let's go back and have some fun with this route first. So this is just a trips with a wing look here, tight end attached. And they're playing zone. They're playing man all over the board. But we just kind of get bullied here at the front. Coming through. And so when he just gets this real easy release. Talking about Sam Laporta. We clear out of there. We hug up here. He'll probably do some sort of flat release at the end. Other side doesn't really matter. And these are the kind of things that are just open for business. I think if you have good tight ends, particularly if you have a Tucker Kraft on your team, you just feel really good about this because they have to respect the run. Obviously, you get into that personnel package. And the Lions did a great job, quite frankly, of running the ball enough out of this personnel package that they had to really respect the run. Those linebackers had to sink in. Trey Henderson over here was Penei Sewell. If you can get that block, these other guys are good players. TJ Slayton we see in there. But if you get that block over here and Sewell ends this one, obviously the way you want to see all these ended is with a guy on the ground here. But if you get that block, you feel pretty good about your chances. Okay, so they do another up and back, 12 personnel, another tight bunch look over there on the top of the field. Now they're running a 2 deep look. They come and rotate back down. What I love about this play and why I brought this up was that when you're the Detroit Lions and you got Jahmyr Gibbs in the backfield, you don't even need to block the linebacker. They don't even block this guy. So we got 2 here for 1 and 2, and they're just like, you know what, we're good. We'll just drive this guy out. We'll let 55 sit in the hole. 55 is a really good player, but speed. So they do a good job on the double team here with the right guard and the right tackle. Really moving bodies. But you just see again, there's sometimes you just got to appreciate the athletes that are in the NFL, man. That's impossible. These guys, you think in the box as you watch this team, these guys, despite that play, I think they do a pretty good job with their box guys playing physical in the run game. They're like 16th in the league in yards per carry. The problem is their offense sucks to turn the ball over all the time. They get too many chances. But what you will find out is this. In the secondary and in space, I should say, whether it's the linebackers, whether it's the safeties, corners, in space, you just don't feel good about their ability to tackle. That's Laporta again. making a big play. But, the reality is sometimes you walk these guys out into these defensive ends, you try to drop into space, man. They can't make open field tackles like that. So, hey, again, 12 personnel. And there's a theme here, too. One, they got the 12 personnel. Two, they get down into this tight look where they really got the 3 receivers. So these aren't, necessarily traditional bunch looks, but you can kind of look at it like that. And because the Bengals have a hard time, the fantastic part about this for Green Bay, I think, is there's so many people up on the line of scrimmage that regardless of, you really look at it, you got a 4 and you got 1 in the back. 6 people up on the line of scrimmage with the speed that the Packers have, the speed that the Lions have, obviously. You just feel good about your ability to separate. And that's what ends up happening here. Laporta gets out on outside linebacker. But the time, the lack of pass rush, you've got guys that can work. Henderson ends up winning here. And again, he might be a guy, I don't know if I have the end zone copy of this, but he might be a guy that, you always just sell the back to. It's like, why not? They really don't have another guy over there where you're thinking like they have a real chance of beating us. 2nd and 2 look, another bunch. Now they're in nickel, I believe. I just put this in here, a little speed out. We see this from Romeo Doubs, probably one of the kind of foundation plays we've been running the last couple of weeks, whether that's Doubs, whether that's Dontavian Wicks. Easy stuff. If you're the Bengals, you got to be a little gun shy at some point. So they're playing off. This is kind of an all you can eat. You see the high corner here. His back turned to the sideline. Put that conflict player, the apex player in conflict. I think these are a good physical team in the box. Obviously you're dealing with a powerhouse to juggernaut with the Detroit Lions right now. Go back to 11. The Lions like these, kind of close splits, which allows really all of this other space. You think about, why do these teams do that? Why are they split in here? Why are they so tight to the tackles? It's like you guys got all of this space, man. You got all this space you got to account for now. And really, it's always interesting to see like how this guy is gonna set it. It makes it real obvious for the quarterback how they're gonna line up in their stance. I put this in here because Hendrickson wins, gets the sack fumble. This ends up being a fumble and a turnover. It's the one turnover they had in the game. Hopefully we can get him coming out of the side here. The screen's not always what we want it to be. But he's just a special player. And, there's a handful of times in this game where he gets a straight rush. This is one of those things where, offensive line coach is like, all right, you're in a 3-point stance. Fantastic. Is that the best idea with that guy? I mean, are you able to get out of your stance at this stage in the game where you're not setting flat? You always think about, what's the biggest issue with this kind of set or this idea is if you start setting this way, trying to get out there and get your hands on him and push him off, like his edge is just, he's got to get that far and he's got all that space, man. It's not a hard game. But that's why they paid him. Good player. Got to account for him. Really the guy on that team that you have to account for. Always an interesting conversation too, right? Like they bring him in. Obviously Joe Burrow gets hurt, so that's one of the reasons they're struggling a little bit. But you bring a guy like that in defensively, he's such a difference maker. But then again, he's not a difference maker. They're, I think, 30th in points per game. Henderson wins again here, but we're really going to look at the top where they're running the TE game and end up getting a sack. Going back, they zone this off in the middle. They go to the trip side. They bring down the safety and try to poach this on the crossers. These guys are, everyone's, I think this is Miles Murphy here coming off 99 and running off the TE. And really, you got two, this is their NASCAR package. They got 3 defensive ends in the game, 58, 99, and then Henderson over on the left tackle. This is the kind of stuff. I think they're just so much better out of a 4-down line. I mean, every time you watch their pass rush versus, when they're in their 3-4, it's just not very good. But the 4-3, they do things a lot better out of 4-2. Unfortunately, you can manipulate them. They're pretty solid when you go into 12 personnel. More often than not, they're going to be in that 3-4 look. Here they are again. We can call that 21 or 12. Doesn't really matter. They're just back in that same look. They're a physical team. They pride themselves on it. This is the hard part about throwing for teams for guys that don't know. Like, this is the hard part about playing 33 looks or 32 looks, 34, like whatever you want to call it. They have 58 outside here, but realistically, when you look at this, you got 2 4 eyes. It's just the angles kind of suck. I mean, playing and prepping for a 3-4 team is really hard because those angles are tough. Like, how do you want to attack that player? If you want to down block with this left tackle, like, he's not down in that gap already, so you really have to win. You watch 90 here versus Taylor Decker, and he just tosses them, gets in the play, ends up making it. And, he probably oversells it a little bit, but talking about Decker, bad footwork and everything, but, these guys are physical players. I like what they do in the box. It's just once you get outside that box, man, you get in open space, they got real troubles. All right, we got a 1st and 10 look here. They're back in that, that 21, that 12, however you want to look at it. They're back in their 34 defense. They go single safety high. I mean, look how open these players are. And this is, different points in the game. If you watch this game in kind of chronological order, you understand why the situation is what it is. But watch the sell here, the under center play action and what that does to these guys, the safety, the backer, everybody's hugging, everybody's looking, eyes are on the quarterback, but nobody's actually rushing, right? These guys are not actually rushing. So it's the best of all worlds when you think about, really these guys are the only people that are off the ball enough to be in play as far as pass as far as pass defense. And so when you come back here, like everything on this field is open. He could throw it to the first level, the second level, then obviously like tackle the football. Takes 3 guys to get him out of bounds. This is it's all over the tape. There are plays that are not 12 personnel in this game, but it kept coming up where like these are a lot of really good plays. Now here's a run that ends up working. I put this run in at the end just really to show like if you keep pressure on the backside here. So, this is really just a very simple basic blocking scheme, but we're gonna go here. Oh, what am I doing here, Mike? Here we go. We're just down. We got a double backside. We're back and we're back. Okay. And we're just going to lead here, and he's going to end up bouncing this out the backside because key blocks here, pressure here, and then Decker goes out and puts pressure on the defensive end. That constant pressure here, just not being able to get your ass in the hole and then push back out, makes these plays. These are some of the things when you talk about the Packers, like what can we get better at? It's this little stuff, really being attacking on that backside, not just giving up and walling off, not being a position blocker, but actually trying to drive out. I'll show you what I mean here. Watch the left guard. Again, you know what you're going to get, but see, he just keeps that pressure. He actually moves that guy off the spot, ends up putting him on his face, right? But a lot of times you see in this game nowadays, what does this player do? This player starts looking back and then just ends up kind of positioning himself in the hole. Maybe he gets pushed back, maybe he doesn't. But in fact, that backside hole just isn't there. They do a fantastic job. Makes it really hard on 55. And then you just see the run fits. Nobody's outside. Because of that 3 technique kind of get moved off the spot. We get the safety is at the corner that goes all the way inside, has to go back out and make the play.
All right, so as you can see, like their spread on this game is 14.5 points. In an NFL football game, the spread is 14.5 points. Now the Packers have, the 0-1-1 in the last 2 games, but 14.5 points in the national. This isn't like FCS versus FBS. This is a statement about where the Cincinnati Bengals are, how where their threats are. That you look at this team again, you kind of go back to it, and it's like Hendrickson, Chase. That's it. They've got other good NFL football players on their teams. I like their linebackers. Obviously, they have a good stable of receivers. But you just look at where they're deficient and what they're not doing well. I love Zach Taylor. I think he's a great guy. I worked with him in Miami. I'm a fan of his. This team needs to play a lot better. I hope they don't do it this weekend. This is Mike Wahle. This is Block Party. Thanks for watching, guys. Tune in next time.